Hello and welcome to the 2020 Exploration Overview. I'm Barrett Elliott, the Diamond Geologist with the Northwest Territories Geological Survey, and I will be giving this narrated PowerPoint presentation in lieu of an in-person talk at the Geoscience Forum this year. So overall, it was a somewhat challenging year for exploration and mining in the NWT due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But despite all that, mining and exploration carried on, albeit in a somewhat reduced capacity. The NRCam projections for exploration expenditures in the NWT were down to 36.6 million this year. That's down 54% from the previous year. So hopefully we will see those bounce up a little bit in the next year. In terms of mineral tenure, at the time of giving this talk here, which is in late November 2020, 100 new claims were staked, totaling around 75,000 hectares, and we saw some new staking near Walmsley Lake, Margaret Lake, Gordon Lake, and Point Lake. 10 claims were cancelled, totaling just over 7,000 hectares, and no claims were lapsed. This was a result of the mining recorder's COVID-19 relief measures. This brings us to the Gahcho-Kué diamond mine, which is a joint venture between Mountain Province and De Beers, with De Beers as the operator. They indicated that their operations were somewhat affected by COVID-19 protocols, but by around Q3 they had adapted fairly well. And they also indicated that their diamond sales had resumed by the fall. In the first 9 months of 2020, there were 32 million tons mined in total at Gahcho-Kué, with 2.3 million of those being ore. They recovered a total of 4,997,000 carats, and their total carats in grade were better in Q3 compared to Q2 this year, and that what they indicated that was due to mining a higher grade portion of the 5034 pit. And year to date, as of September 30th, the sales revenues for Mountain Province's share of the diamonds were just over 146 million Canadian, with an average price of $62 Canadian per carat. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, operations continued at the Diavik diamond mine. And in the first 9 months of 2020, they processed over 1.8 million tons of ore, recovering 4.7 million carats. And the Rio Tinto quarterly reports indicate that there was some mine lease exploration programs carried out this year as well. Which brings us to the Ekati diamond mine, which is owned and operated by Dominion Diamond Mines, a part of the Washington companies. And in March 19th this year, Dominion Diamond Mines announced a COVID-19 related suspension of the operations of Ekati mine. And they also indicated later on that global COVID-19 measures had pretty much shut down their ability to move product to market, which led them to seek creditor protection in April 2020. And on September 16th, they received a $166 million bid for Ekati there. That's not including Dominion's share of Diavik, from an affiliate of the Washington companies. And on October 9th, it was announced that the prospective buyers were unable to come to an agreement regarding reclamation securities. Fairly recently, on November 13th, Dominion Diamond Mines recalled 60 workers to prepare for the restart of mining operations in anticipation of reaching a debt restructuring agreement. So certainly looking forward to hearing more news on that as it develops. The Kennady North Project is owned by Mountain Province and consists of about 106,000 hectares, and it's around and adjacent to the Gahcho-Kué diamond mine. There are 5 known kimberlites on the property, and they have an indicated resource for the Kelvin kimberlite and inferred resources for the Faraday kimberlites. Their planned activities were somewhat reduced due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And highlights of their activities this year were they staked 41 claims, they drilled a geotechnical hole, and bathymetry data was collected on a lake, and they carried out 43 line kilometers of OMAPper over an indicator mineral and anomaly and geophysical target up ice of Faraday 2. The Lac de Gras joint venture is located south of Lac de Gras and is a joint venture between North Arrow Minerals and Dominion Diamond Mines. Dominion Diamond Mines is the operator. And on February 27th, North Arrow announced the commencement of a ground geophysical survey as part of a $3 million exploration program, though I'm looking forward to hearing more updates on that as they're available, because I'm not sure how that all went down with the COVID-19 restrictions. The Loki Diamond Project is located about 40 kilometers west of the Diavik diamond mine, and some of the highlights of that project was the discovery of a new kimberlite in 2018. And this fall, North Arrow initiated a ground gravity survey to follow up on some magnetic and topographic anomalies in the northern part of their project area. The Seahorse Diamond Project is located about 200 kilometers north of the western portion of Great Bear Lake. And All of It Resources is the operator, and they have Tullamore Diamonds as a partner on this one. And their work in 2019 included 6 drill holes. They didn't encounter any kimberlite, but they encountered some clays at the bottom of these holes, which they say are not consistent with derivation from the local country rock. And the geochemical analyses, they say, is similar to clays found above kimberlites found in other jurisdictions. And they have sent some material to SRC for heavy mineral analysis, and the results for those are pending, so I'm looking forward to seeing those. And they also identified an 8-kilometer-long gold-bearing gossamer zone on the property. GGL's Zip Diamond Project is located, give or take, 100 kilometers west of Ekati. And this year they received some heavy mineral sampling results from 123 till and esker samples. And these samples were taken as a part of a joint research program between GGL, Simon Fraser, Carleton University, and the Northwest Territories Geological Survey. And the purpose of this program is to take a look at the effect of post-glacial, glacial, as well as esker-related processes to see the effect of these on indicator mineral concentrations in various sampling media. And the data received from this had counts up to 75 grains per sample, and that's normalized to 20 kilograms. And some of the pyropes had some pretty nice calophytic rims on them, and this is highly suggestive of a proximal source for a kimberlite. And this brings us to the gold exploration portion of the presentation, and we'll start with Gold Terra Resource Corporation's Yellowknife City Gold Project. As the name might suggest, it's located to the north and south of Yellowknife. The land tenure they've acquired covers an area of around 790 square kilometers, and it's on trend with over 14 million ounces of historic gold production from Giant and Con mines. The City Gold Project currently has an inferred resource of 735,000 ounces, hosted in multiple shear structures, and exploration work is ongoing. In winter 2020, their exploration work was focused at Sam Otto, in which they drilled 34 holes totaling 9,622 meters. And some highlights from this include an intercept of 1.3 grams per ton gold over 50.6 meters. Another hole had 1.18 grams per ton gold over 51.65 meters. And another one was 1.39 grams per ton over 25 meters. And they also noted that they intersected mineralization outside of their current resource envelope, which is always nice to see. And they identified some new mineralized structures 50 meters into the hanging wall, which is also good to see. Over the summer, Gold Terra also carried out 125 line kilometers of ground geophysics north of Giant Mine, covering the Campbell Shear. They also drilled 10 holes at Christorum for around 5,750 meters worth. And the initial results from the Christorum drill program showed the presence of multiple mineralized shears and splays, which could potentially expand the size of the deposit, which is, again, more good news. And in November, they announced that they'd compiled a 13,699-hole 3D model of the Campbell Shear south of Yellowknife. And they announced a 12,000 meter drill program on the Campbell Shear south of Con. And I'm assuming that 13,699 hole model is using production holes from Colomac, because that's a pretty impressive number. And now we're going to talk about Nighthawk Gold Corporation's Indin Lake gold property, which covers somewhere around 222,000 acres in an Archean greenstone belt, approximately 200 kilometers north of Yellowknife. There are numerous gold deposits as well as a past producing mine over this large area. And currently they have partnership and support from Northfield Capital, Kinross, and Cisco Royalties. And they have around 23,000 meters of drilling planned for 2020. And they've also announced they have 75,000 meters of drilling planned for 2021. This past year, Nighthawk followed a NI 43-101 compliant mineral resource estimate for Colomac, and this was based on a gold price of $14.25 an ounce US, and this used 924 drill holes, which with over 177 kilometers of drilling. And just to really briefly summarize the results there, they came up with, for Colomac there, they came up with 25.89 million tons of indicated with an average grade of 2.01 grams per ton gold for a total of 1.67 million ounces, as well as 5.71 million tons inferred at 2.03 grams per ton gold for a total of 0.37 million ounces, and this involved both open pit and underground mining. They also generated a maiden 43-101 compliant resource for the Damoti Lake portion of their project. This was done from 277 drill holes with a total of 33,433 meters of drilling, and this resulted in 0.74 million tons inferred at 4.97 grams per ton gold for a total of 0.12 million ounces. And this would involve selective underground mining scenarios. They also published some results from the 2019 drill program this year, and that one had 40,000 meters from 110 holes, and some of the highlights include 56 meters at 13.49 grams per ton gold, 30.5 meters at 22.12 grams per ton gold, and 10 meters of 53.57 grams per ton gold. They found mineralization in a newly recognized phase of the quartz diorite sill. And some of the regional highlights include a grab sample from Andy Lake, which returned 42.8 grams per ton gold, and a sample from Barker Vidal that returned 13.65 grams per ton gold, and a sample from Zone 24 that returned 8.83 grams per ton gold. So for the rest of 2020, they're planning on having 3 drills to drill around 25,000 meters. 20,000 of these will be focused on Colomac and 5,000 focused on some of the more regional targets. And some of the initial results from this program include 253.13 meters, which they estimate to be about 150 meters true, of 1.84 grams per ton gold, as well as 66.5 meters, or approximately 26 true meters, of 2.15 grams per ton gold. And now we'll briefly talk about Rover Metals' Cabin Gold project, which is located approximately 100 kilometers northwest of Yellowknife and about 20 kilometers southeast of the NICO Project, so that positions it fairly well for some potential future infrastructure. They carried out a 9-hole exploration program, and the initial assay results include 22.01 meters at 7.94 grams per ton gold, as well as 14.75 meters of 6.45 grams per ton gold. So first up for the base metal products, we're going to talk about Cisco Metals' Pine Point project. This year, they filed a NI 43-101 compliant technical report, which so the brief highlights here are an after-tax NPV of $500 million with an 8% discount rate and an internal return rate of 29.6%. It also highlighted an after-tax payback period of 2.9 years with a 10-year life of mine. And for more details on this sort of thing, please refer to, either the data from Cisco there, but we've also summarized it in the written exploration overview, which should be available for download as well. Pine Point announced they were starting some drilling on August 27th, and this was to be aimed at expanding deposits in their mineral resource estimate with a focus on prismatic and high-grade mineralization. And the highlights from the initial results include 17.59 meters at 11.53% zinc and 2.52% lead, as well as 28.8 meters of 2.9% zinc and 6.24% lead. Which brings us to Zinc's Prairie Creek mine. This year, or the past year, they indicated they had received the final permits necessary for mine operation, as well as their all-season road permits. And they mentioned that they were focusing on evaluating the silver potential of the deposit. And they announced a 1,300 meter to 3,250 meter surface drill program for mid-October. And this program would be targeting vein and stockwork areas that are currently classified as inferred. The Necholacho Project was acquired by Vital Metals Limited. They acquired it from Cheetah Resources. So they now control the Necholacho Project above the 150 meter elevation level. And they released a JORC 2012 compliant resource of 3.196 million tons at 2.38 total rare earth element oxide. And they've announced they're planning to initiate production in mid-2021. So that's great news. I think we're all looking forward to that. Which brings us to Fortune Minerals' NICO Project. This year, they were focusing on updating the mineral resource block model as part of developing a new mine plan to focus on early access to higher grade material. And they carried out a ground IP and mag survey over the Peanut Lake anomaly to identify new targets. And this did identify new targets to the southeast and to the northeast of the current NICO deposit. And last but not least, I'd like to give a quick update on the GNWT's mining incentive program. For 2020-2021, we're looking at $995,000 in MIP funding that's been allocated to 20 projects. That's divided up among 13 prospectors and 7 exploration companies. And these figures are just for the initial allocation. The funding is dependent on the approval of final reports and expenses. But there's lots of good projects there, and we're looking forward to seeing the results. So that brings us to the end of the exploration overview presentation. Overall, there were certainly numerous challenges this year associated with the COVID-19 pandemic, but mining and exploration carried on, and there were certainly some exploration successes to be had. So thanks to everyone who made it this far.